Welcome to Uncle Jimmy and Cousin Donnie showed what? 33, my man.
This is episode number 33, man. Hold on, wait one sec. You're kind of cutting in and out right now. This is episode number 33.
Yeah.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can. Hold on. It's just... All right, now try to talk.
My Boost mobile internet. We had this
It's
last week.
It's kind of cutting in and out. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Week. I wonder if it's an
Not the ideal start. Not the ideal start to the show, but we're gonna push on. We're gonna push on right now.
So what's
you might want to just hop out really quick, and I was gonna say hop out really fast and then jump on back in just so we can make sure Jimmy's connection is okay. Let's see. Try and talk now.
Better?
Yeah.
And sorry about that. Well, welcome to
Sorry.
32 or 33. Cousin Donnie and Uncle Jimmy. What's going on this week, my man? How are you doing?
Man, we're doing all right, man. We had some good playoff football games on the weekend with the Chiefs. Probably not surprising to a lot of people with Mahomes and that group of guys winning. Oops. And then on the other side, we had 49ers come back from, what was it, 24-7 at half?
24.
Come back and
answered in the third quarter.
And then insane. If you're a gambling man and you took 49ers at halftime, you probably made a decent bit of money. Jimmy, you probably did.
Hey, you know what? I was actually and the 49ers at half did what myself.
Wait one sec. Hold on. You're kind of cutting in and out again. Hold on. If you guys are in the chat and can hear Jimmy okay, please let me know. Jimmy, you might have to back out one more time and jump on back in.
All right, let me back out. I'll get back.
Sorry. Yeah. Jimmy's on that Boost Mobile right now. Jimmy's his internet connection isn't going as he had imagined, but that's okay. That's what we do. We persevere. We persevere here at the Uncle Jimmy Cousin Donnie Show. Mark Menizzi, thank you for the heads up, Mark. I appreciate that. Jimmy wants to go off Wi-Fi and jump on the stream via cellular data.
How are you, my man? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. Is that a lot better?
Yeah, it seems better for now. Better for now.
Well, that's good. Maybe something going on with my internet. Good old AT&T fiber.
And you gotta upgrade that internet.
I thought I had top of the line internet.
Yeah. But yeah, like we were talking about 49ers. What were you saying about that?
I was just saying we were betting actually who was going to catch a pass every single series, and it was incredible. So we had a nice little run, but all that aside, I'm excited for the Super Bowl. The Chiefs and 49ers should be a good matchup. Yeah,
I agree. It'll be kind of what everybody sort of expected, right? You were probably thinking Ravens, 49ers for the most of the season. It's really tough to count out Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and then their defense has played awesome. The 49ers the Chiefs didn't score a point in the second half and still won the game. So the defense played great, maintained Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and the Chiefs have done that quite often this year, believe it or not.
Their defense is super underrated.
Yes, they've done it quite often, and it's been absolutely incredible. So let me go ahead and bring our little chat data up here really quick.
Yeah, is everybody in the chat? Can you hear Jimmy a little bit better now? It looks like we can hear you better.
So we got people busting my chops already, which I love to see.
Is it Happy Haircut Day, Jimmy?
It is Happy Haircut Day. Okay. So looking good. I had to look good for Abby tonight, So
Yeah.
Abby's she's a celebrity, as you know, a very good family friend. And
Before we get into Abby, I have to say, she will be probably the best athlete we've had on the show so far. Definitely the most award-winning athlete that we've had for
yeah,
sure. Right? I mean,
100%.
a stud college softball player, professional softball player, just hanging out with a bunch of guys that play softball in their spare time. So,
Yeah, but she's got the family genes per se. She's been involved in softball her whole life. Her dad as well, her sister, her mother. So I mean, they've all pretty much lived the game. So which is awesome. And before we bring her on, I just wanted to add one quick thing. I fielded a lot of calls this week about the SSA meeting that I attended,
mhm.
and they wanted to know about my idea of what I said to the SSA board. So I am going to go ahead and share it today. Just a little bit of details. I'm not going to get into the whole subject, but just the one main thing. I had three main topics, commitment, perception on what the SSA board is, but the main one was about having a tournament end on Saturday night, as many as you know, and also the format of what that would look like. So very simple. I just did a 24 team field for the major tournaments, as most of them are. What I did was I gave them on two fields how that would look like ending a championship game Saturday night at 9 o'clock. Obviously, you play Thursday, Friday. You'd have the same times as what Forest Park does. You go 6 o'clock, 7:15, 8:30, and 9:45. All Thursday games, though, are single elimination. So that brings that urgency to the field. All teams that lose on Thursday receive half their money back for the entry fee. So that was something that I brought up. And then Friday would start the double elimination. So that means you're bringing 16 teams back on Saturday, and that would run all the way till Saturday night, where your championship game would be at 9 p.m. Obviously, the reason why I said what I said is because if we do get out-of-state teams, Iowa teams, and so on, they would automatically get a bye till Friday, and almost the benefit of the doubt because they're driving 4 to 5 hours to play.
Mm-hmm.
So we're guaranteeing them 2 games. So that's kind of how I did it. Obviously, there's kinks here and there, certain things that people are going to dislike and like. But if you play at a complex with only 2 fields, to me, that's the format you're going to have to go to make that work. Obviously, the more fields, then you could do probably a double elimination tournament for all 24 teams. But for those individual teams, I just think it's something that I just think it'd be awesome to watch games Thursday night, knowing that it's single elimination, right, in a major event. Could you imagine if 45s played Flash first game, or we played you guys first game? I think it'd be just incredible.
Yeah.
The amount of that do or die type atmosphere, which would be not only as a fan awesome to watch, but also as a player awesome to play.
Tough. That would be one nervous softball game.
Yeah, which would be awesome. So
yeah.
So that being said, why don't we get into Abby?
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and bring Abby on now.
Okay. I think her mom is in the chat. Lynn.
Yeah, she
Lynn
is. She's out there flinging. We got to pay Abby, she's saying.
Rich, you'll notice Jimmy doesn't have anything on his forehead because we haven't played since our last show.
we will talk about that after Abby, before San Francisco.
Yeah. So we're going to get into that. Guys, please stick around for after Abby. We're going to talk about Jimmy's punishment if we end up beating him tomorrow in our next scrimmage game. Abby, you'll probably appreciate this as well once we talk about what's going to happen to Jimmy again.
So Abby, welcome to our show.
Hi.
You're right in the middle too, which is perfect.
I know.
I
do see my mom blowing up the chat right now. So.
Yeah, your mom's going nuts right now, so we had to mute her really quick, but that's all right. So welcome. How are things, Abby?
Good. We're I'm coaching at DePaul, as you know. So we are just kind of gearing up for season restart. We leave the 7th and restart playing 8th, 9th, and 10th is our first weekend out. So it's right around the corner. So been pretty busy with that.
Yeah, so I that's kind of one of the first questions I was going to ask you is, for recruiting and for college softball, could you explain everyone what that process kind of looks like for some of the viewers? I know I was at the Sports Dome today and talked to some of our girls softball individuals that run our program over there, and they were kind of excited. We're tuning in for the interview to see you. So Just curious, just kind of if you give us people a rundown, because not many people are familiar with how the game is, and I know it's a popular, growing game currently. So
Yeah. So, I mean, in high school, we recently, and for NCAA passed a rule that we can't necessarily talk to recruits, like unless that's coming to camps and things like that, until
Sure.
September 1st of their junior year. The reason they did that is because things were getting a little out of hand, and they had people in like sixth, seventh grade committing, and that was just like insane. So,
Right.
in order to kind of get a hold on that. They changed that a few years ago to which has been a lot better. So right now, September 1st, we were talking to juniors and we were out all fall recruiting. And then the winter is kind of a dead period and more camp season. And then now we're heading into season, but summer will be kind of our big recruiting time to finish up that junior class, but also start getting ahead for the 2026 class, who are sophomores right now. You kind of want to start getting your list ready so that on September 1st, you have people that you can reach out to. And, if there's people that, are high in your list, you can get them out on a visit and give them an offer if that's how far along you are. So, there's a lot of work on the front end of that, because if you are getting behind on that, then you might miss out on some of the best recruits. So kind of timeline wise, but definitely busy.
Yeah, for sure. Abby, we want to give a little bit of your background too before we kind of get into this. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. Professional 12-inch softball player, correct?
Mhm.
You played at the professional level, played college at Michigan, set a whole bunch of records. I read up on you. Quite the impressive resume, my friend. All kinds of accolades there. Congrats on all the success at the college level and now at the professional level. What does the women's softball game need in order to kind of propel into being more popular within United? Like, the reason I ask it is because college softball is so popular right now on all the major networks. They're always showing the College World Series. What does that professional softball level need to look like, in your opinion, for it to kind of take off?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think with college softball, what makes what it's so popular during postseason, but I think that's because it's on TV on
Mhm.
ESPN on prime time. The
Yep.
quality of coverage is amazing. The stories, it's it's really great. So I think it's a really good viewing experience, which is why people really look forward to that time of the year. Um, moving on to the professional level, we haven't always had that. And so that lack of one, just exposure, but
Mhm.
two, quality of coverage just wasn't always there. So I think that, you don't really have that great of a watching and viewing experience if you don't have it on, networks like that. And that takes just investment. So obviously you need investors. I will say my time with Athletes Unlimited, which is who I just recently was playing with. They have invested a lot into not just softball, but also women's volleyball, lacrosse, basketball. And so they've really, we were on ESPN platforms and we had, that a lot more of a production behind it, which I think
Mhm.
is really great. Now it's just like we need to keep that going. I think
Yeah.
that's the start. But yeah, if we're not on in front of viewers on those channels and platforms, then it's really hard for people to, one, because they don't necessarily know that it's there if it's not in front of them, but also two, like you want to have a good quality
Mhm.
experience viewing it, and that it's production as part of that too.
Right, right, because you've got all these college athletes that are superstars, and then they go play professional, which is the goal for these girls that are playing college, and then you never hear from them again. So it's
Yeah,
all
and I
about
mean, we have
getting funding.
Olympians in our league and,
Yeah,
All Americans,
right,
all of the great players. But it's even more competitive because it's like pretty much the top tier. So
right.
yeah, so hopefully that can kind of keep going. But I think Athletes Unlimited has started it. Now it just
Hmm.
needs to continue.
Sure.
Mhm.
So, Abby, really quick before I get to my next question, I want to say hi to some of the people that have joined our feed. Rich Rizzo, hello. Dave Padilla, hello. Taylor Lang actually joined the feed, so that's one of your teammates. So,
That was a Trinity Blazer. Hi, Tay.
Cesar Gutierrez, Matt Williams, welcome. Obviously, Mama Abby, good old Lynn Ramirez, she's out there, welcome. So Bito Rojas is out there. We have a lot of people, Mark Manizzi. So we appreciate it, guys, all the ones that I can see. But getting into your next the next point I wanted to ask you is if I'm a girl maybe that's 12 years old and I'm looking, because pretty soon I'm coming up on that high school, and then from high school I'm looking to get into college. What would be a piece of advice you would give a young 12, 13-year-old girl that's playing travel softball currently now, to play at a D1 level today? What would that advice be to them?
I think in terms of like just development is really focus on developing and not just playing as many games as you can. I think what we see a lot just as the kids we're recruiting is they're coming in with a lot more injuries because they're playing a lot of games, but they're not necessarily doing a lot of training.
Yeah.
So the training and like there's a lot of things that we need to develop once they get there. And that's, just your game IQ. It's like just fundamental things. But if you can get ahead of that and have the best fundamentals, I mean, that you can never be too perfect at fundamentals. And I think that that's actually undervalued in the game, especially with throwing. I think second is just like making sure that you're staying healthy because, like I said, right now, like the athletes are playing hundreds of games in the summer and they're not they don't have the access to trainers like you do in college and things like that. So they come in with all these injuries and don't have a good experience in college. And then if like going to recruitment, I think the best advice I have is first to just know kind of what your priorities are. So you don't want to just like cast a wide net if you don't actually, you should know what type of program you want to go to, what type of school you want to go to. So knowing that is really important. And then going to those camps and trying to get in front of those coaches, I think is probably the best way to stand out. Because it's easy to put a face to a name when we've worked with them at camp. And so, yeah, I think, and ultimately it's like, remember why you're doing it. And I think a lot of times people get lost in the recruiting process is like, I want to get recruited. But really like the biggest thing is you have to love what you're doing. So like, if you aren't having a good time playing softball, your recruitment's going to be stressful and you're probably not going to end up where you want to go.
No, that's a great piece of advice, and I think especially nowadays with the amount of games, as you mentioned, being played, kids kind of come into either in high school kind of worn out a little bit, right? I mean, the arm, the legs. I mean, I know I played a lot when I was young, and I know for a fact I walked into college and I was beat up. So that's a great piece of advice, and I think that's something that people should really consider, considering all these parents and travel organizations, all they want to do is play games.
Mm-hmm.
Might have to take a step back from that and look at the betterment of the athletes. So
I
that's
know,
a great point.
I know girls in softball can pitch like every other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just not that much toll on the arm. But
Mm-hmm.
after a certain amount of games, it's got to be just straining on the body.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen a lot of freshmen come in with like torn labrums and and then it's like you're already starting off college on a poor note because now you're in the training room the whole time and just trying to fight through that all the time, and sometimes people have to get surgery. It just gets messy. So I think it all goes back to fundamentals and development and overuse and hopefully kind of getting a hold of that.
So that leads me into my next question a little bit. I know you started as a freshman at Michigan. You played all 4 years. You were a starter at Michigan. You played shortstop. I think you played a little bit of second base, because I think you were partners with Sierra Ramirez, which is one of the best players, I think, probably in college softball at the time, and if not all time, one of the best. So I know I always had that little joke with her. Every time I showed up, she'd hit 2 home runs. But you also had an unbelievable career, as Donnie mentioned. Some of those athletes. So give us a couple moments from your college career at Michigan, because I know I spent a lot of it tailgating with your parents. So I was
Jimmy doesn't remember any of the games. It sounds like.
I had a great time. And, so just kind of give us a couple highlight moments for yourself and just during your college career before we get onto your pro career.
I think I definitely will say like starting all 4 years was super special for me because starting as a freshman, like going in and having an impact right away was awesome. I think I learned a lot that year too. It wasn't my best year, but I feel like I was able to get a lot of experience in that kind of is what kind of catapulted the rest of my career. So I think like one thing I'm really proud of is that I did start pretty much every single game except I think 2 due to injury. So that was something I take a lot of pride in because I always wanted to be like that consistent person on the field for my teammates and just someone that, everyone knew that they could go to and count on. I think in terms of like memories, one thing that I can't ignore, or the thing that's probably like top of my list that I say is like the moment I peaked maybe is going to the national championship my sophomore year. That was a super special team. 2015, Team 38, that was our team at Michigan. And I don't really remember our record exactly, but I think we got to 60 wins that year, which is really good. Yep. And ended up making it to the final game of the season, ended up coming up short at the end there, but still to be in that experience, one, to make it to the World Series, because I kind of had just, that's like what you shoot for when you're, growing up as a or as a softball player and having those dreams, is to play in the World Series. I played there in a tournament when I was 12. So to be back and like, I remember like watching like Team USA play on the field and like being, in awe of them, and then coming back and being there as a player was super cool. And then to make it all the way and I had a really good tournament. I ended up making the all tournament team. So that was pretty cool, especially in like the biggest moment. Yep. To be playing good softball was fun. And then we made it back to the World Series again my junior year. So I don't know if that might have been the super regional that you were at. Was it that game?
I think so. Yeah, we were at one of them.
I couldn't remember if it was 2015 or 2016.
Yeah. I was at. I came. I came to a lot of them.
I was saying. I don't remember if you were at that one. We had because I had a lot of people. A lot of family, a lot of friends coming to that. Yeah. So I remember my junior year, to go back to the World Series. We beat Mizzou, and it was a game that we had to come back in the last inning, and we scored like 4 runs with 2 outs, and it was pretty wild. And I remember just being in Ann Arbor and like winning and, to punch our ticket to Oklahoma City. That was also something that is a really, really good memory for me. So those are probably like some of the highlights, but the whole experience was, the best time of my life. So.
Well, no, for me, it was awesome to watch too, just being a sports guy, athlete guy, my whole life, and hang out with your parents. They were obviously your dad, and then your grandpa, who was always on the grill, cooking, yelling at your father, which I loved. That was one of the highlights of every weekend, every time I went out there. But I wanted to ask you a quick question, because we have a fan in our chat right now who's a big-time Ohio State Buckeye fan. What was your record against Ohio State? Just, probably what, 15-1?
It was 11-1.
Okay. You heard that,
one game.
11-1.
Yeah.
All right.
And my freshman year, we did beat them like 20-1, I think.
Yes, it was 20-1. I know.
It was, there was that one that, I'm still pissed about, but I think the overall record speaks for itself.
Yeah, we have a softball player who is a big Ohio State Buckeye fan. He's putting in the chat for me to smile. So I had to rub it in on him a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I see it. Yeah, no, go blue.
Go blue.
That's great.
Go ahead, Donnie.
What's the school spirit still like? Do you still follow Michigan pretty closely? I'm sure you watch the national championship game, but you still have a pretty good relationship with those guys over there, or what's the connection like still?
I take so much pride in being a Michigan alumni. People will probably think it's really annoying. People tend to think we're annoying, but it's because we take a lot of pride in our school, and our alumni just with the softball team is super close. Our coach just retired not this past fall, but the fall before. And we actually had a big reunion weekend this September for her. We all went back to Ann Arbor, got to go to a game, and over 100 alumni were there just in support of our coach. Wow. So that was much. Yeah. I even think it might've been over 150 or something. There was so many of us. She was coaching for over 30 years. So there's been a lot of us, but everyone was there. So,
wow.
I absolutely loved my time at Michigan, and I couldn't have asked for a better team, coaches, campus, everything. So I bleed blue, that's for sure.
How many years did Hutch end up coaching? Was it like 39, 40 or something?
I don't know the exact number. I just know it was over 30. It was a very long time. And
Yeah.
she's the winningest coach in softball or NCAA softball history. So yeah, she's
Wow.
and I wish I had knew that number off the top of my head. I'm kind of disappointed I don't, but yeah, she's the winningest coach. So her and Mike Candrea were always going back and forth.
That's incredible. And that's awesome you got to play for someone like that. So congrats to you. That's incredible.
That's cool.
Donnie, any other questions about her college career?
College career, one of the questions I always like to ask people that come on the show is just talk about a teammate that you really like to play with, or I always ask the 16-inch guys, since we're kind of closing it in the in our little clique here in the 16-inch softball world. Who's your favorite teammate or someone you want to kind of give a shout to?
It's hard to choose one because I mean we had a really good group in college. I mean I've been really lucky to have played with a lot of great teammates, in college, after college. Someone though that I always looked up to and I felt like was kind of like my person in the dugout was Sierra Lawrence. She was a year older than me. And she was also All-American. She was an outfielder. She was our leadoff, and just like I appreciated her competitiveness so much because she just was like just the ultimate competitor in the game. And she was one of those types of people that doesn't really sugarcoat things, but kind of says it how it is, which is, good. People might have been a little bit afraid of her, but she was a really good leader. And she also was just kind of like the person. We would always be sitting at the end of the dugout together, talking about our at-bats and kind of what we were going to do in our next at-bat, and just talking about the game while watching it in the dugout, between innings. And so she was kind of like my person. So that was, I definitely loved playing with her.
That's fantastic.
So Donnie, I have to say this because I watched Abby her senior year. I think she hit, Abby, would you hit 14 home runs your senior year in high school?
In high school, 20 actually.
Jimmy, get the facts straight, brother. You're shortcutting her here.
Her senior year, she batted righty. Got recruited, went to college and batted lefty.
Yeah.
Donnie, you can't even bat lefty.
No, I can't even swing one way.
Switch over and bat righty. Think about that.
Why? Why did we do that? What was the just?
It's kind of hard to explain. And if you ask my grandma, she's really pissed that I didn't keep hitting home runs on the right side. So most of my family would say that. But I actually started slapping a little bit in travel ball, mostly just to add like another tool. And I actually ended up getting recruited as a slapper. So they recruited me before they knew that I hit righty. And so they didn't really know that I hit righty until like I was already kind of committed and everything. And then I would do mostly righty in high school and then mostly lefty in travel. And I kind of did a little bit of both. And then when I got to college, like I said, I was recruited as a slapper. So I did mostly that, but they let me just kind of do both and just see kind of like where it went. And for a little bit, as a freshman, you're kind of just trying to like get your feel for everything. So I was kind of struggling at both at one point. And so I kind of needed to go with one. And I always thought slapping was a little bit easier because you kind of can mishit it and still be productive. So I kind of started out just because I thought it was easier to get comfortable for me slapping. And then I kind of kept doing both. And then finally I was just like, I need to stick with one just so that I can kind of focus on that and excel at that instead of trying to split time, training, everything. But being a slapper is still fun. It's not necessarily the glory of the home runs, but I think what people don't realize is like you can be really crafty with, if you have a lot of tools, like if you have a power slap, if you hit away, if you soft slap, if you bunt, like it's really hard to defend that. So you get to be a little bit more crafty with what you want to do. So.
And
I really got into that.
Yeah, and you were also really fast, so that really helped. So
yes, the speed part of it. You can't really be a slapper if you're not
fast. Donnie, she had my kind of speed, Donnie.
Yeah, that's why she hit righty for power, Jim. She had your speed.
Yeah. Hey, you're catching on, Donnie. You're catching on.
I'm figuring things out. 1 minute at a time here.
You know how it is.
Well, I mean, we're gonna transition maybe from the college aspect. I was going to ask you, we have, like I mentioned, our little small clique here, 16-inch softball players. That's why we're doing the show, right? To
Mhm.
kind of expand and get to know a little bit of everything, talking to 12-inch players. Do you have any exposure to the 16-inch game?
Very, very little, mostly
Hmm.
just for fun.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, I'm from Chicago, so I, of course, have been exposed to 16-inch softball. Growing up, we would like play as kids and things like that. And then kind of my time between college years in the summer, my brother, who it's also, I told my parents I would give him a 30th birthday shout out. So happy birthday, Andy. He would, yeah, he turns 30 today. So, but he would
Oh,
always, him and his buddies would always try to recruit me to their team because they needed like girls to play. And so, I never did though, just because I was a little nervous to hurt myself and come back with a
Hmm.
broken finger or something like that. So I would go and watch, and they'd be like giving me crap for not playing and everything. But
right.
I've been around it a lot. I haven't
Hmm.
necessarily played a lot of it though.
Cool. Yeah. I just,
Mhm.
we have a lot of guys that play 16, and probably guys are going to message you to recruit you to play on their teams now, just from this interview alone. So be
Well,
ready for like the
Yeah.
Instagram DMs from very
it's
random
funny because
guys.
the co-ed game is actually they play a
Mhm.
12,
It's
14
huge.
inch like a
Yeah.
mush ball.
Yeah.
And there's I want to say there's 8 or 9 like really quality teams, and it's
Yes.
really competitive.
Wow.
So they
Yeah, I
might be.
bet. I mean, I wouldn't want to play like third base for that. I would imagine that would be a little scary.
Yeah,
So,
the girls obviously get to play with gloves. The guys play
Hmm.
with bare hands. So
mhm.
it's yeah, it could be very scary.
Yeah.
Especially someone like, well, I wouldn't say Donnie, but someone that's big
Man,
and hits the ball hard.
I hate this show.
Yeah.
All Jimmy does is shit on me for.
Donnie, welcome to the show, my man.
Yeah, right. This is my first time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, really quick before we keep going, we had a bunch of people jump on, and I always want to say hi to our fans. We have Frank Simon, Kenny Epp, welcome. Dominique Marquez, Brian Sloan, JD, John Doss, Drew watching from Iowa, your boy Jim Macy watching from New Orleans, Chavez KC watching, welcome. And then I don't even want to try to butcher that name. I'm just going to leave that one off. So we have a lot of people watching, so we appreciate it. Obviously, our show is sponsored by Beacon Tap. For those that don't know, it's in Des Plaines. So get out there, enjoy the good food. They also have an outside beer garden and also a little beach volleyball in the summer. So I think it's an incredible little spot. And Tommy Reamer has been awesome enough to sponsor our show and continue to support us. So, but Abby, getting back to you. I know that you played professional ball. I believe you played a little bit with the Bandits to start out, and
Mhm.
then it moved over to like we talked about the Unlimited. So
Mhm.
before I get to a couple videos I want to share with you, tell us a little bit about your pro career and just kind of some of the things that you thought were awesome, or maybe some things that you feel, what if they did this, the pro game would be a little better.
Mhm. Yeah, so I ended up on the Bandits after my senior year at Michigan, and which was perfect for me because being from Chicago, that was really the team that I wanted to play for. Which I actually never really planned on playing pro after college. It kind of just happened, and I was doing my GA and master's degree at Northwestern, so I got a little coaching with them too. While and during the summers, and that playing was kind of the perfect situation for me. So I started with the Chicago Bandits, and I had a great experience with them. Tony Calamine was our GM, and she was like the best GM, like kind of like a second mom to us. And so, I mean, it wasn't very lucrative. Like, I mean, we all had full-time jobs, and that was kind of just what we did mostly for fun.
Yeah.
So, we had a great experience. We had a lot of fun, but at the same time, in terms of like what we like, the types of resources we had and like training rooms and the fields we were playing, that it was actually a step down from college, because
Right.
college obviously is right now is kind of the peak right now.
Hmm.
So that was a little bit hard to get used to, but like I said, you're kind of playing for the love of the game at that point. And then it eventually shifted over. Our league actually folded. It was the NPF refolded in 2020 after COVID and everything. But that was the first year of Athletes Unlimited. And so I'm really grateful for Athletes Unlimited because it was kind of a new take on softball. I mean, it's very much like fantasy, like where we draft our own teams, we switch teams every week, and you're kind of like one person gets crowned the champion. And so it was it was a new way and like a fun fan experience, but also the amount of money that they invested in us was a professional experience that like none of us have had. And so that was super cool to have that type of support. And I think, you know, we've seen a lot of growth in it. And I think that is definitely due to the investment side of it. So, I mean, I think when it comes down to like, how do we grow the game? It's getting people to invest and see that there is a really great product there, because, you know, it's growing and growing a little bit every single year. And hopefully we get to a point where it's, you know, Athletes Unlimited it's not just, you know, the 6-week league that we have, but it's, you know, a more sustainable career option for, you know, softball players. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to money and people willing to invest in us and put us on TV and do things like that. So,
you know, it would, you talk about invest, and you talk about, like, you look at the WNBA, right? The NBA obviously funds that league.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if MLB funded the girls softball league. I mean, that would be something I think would be awesome for them to adapt and give women like yourself who are coming out of college an opportunity to play. There's ways to make money. I just think to your point with Unlimited, I think the way they do it is pretty cool about how the stats are. And I kind of got a little taste of it at your last game that I attended and how that worked and what it was. So yeah, that's a great point. I think, you know, moving forward, there's always something that, hey, matter of fact, Donnie, you and I could probably start this girls softball league. What do you think?
Anybody? I mean,
you guys want a team? You can, you know, I can connect you with the right people. So,
Donnie, why don't we own a team of girls softball?
That sounds awesome. I feel like the footwork is there, the groundwork has been laid. We just gotta find a couple girls that can play.
Right. So,
don't worry, there's plenty.
Yeah, it's good.
We'll bring all the old timers back.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, my next question would be, coming out of college, you've got some of the best softball athletes. What is the percentage of girls that want to play professional softball? You know, is it pretty high? Is it because you know, you might not see it as, you know, the most lucrative thing coming out of college right away. So is it still a dream for girls to play professional softball?
Yeah, I think actually more now than when I was not necessarily younger, but in college for me, it was like, maybe I'll play, maybe I won't, like, won't be the end of the world. I'm so grateful that I did, because it really did kind of change my life in a way. So I'm very lucky. But I think now, though, having some more options, like the college players right now are looking ahead to that, especially the ones who are in the top, you know, the top quarter of you know, talent. They're definitely looking towards that. And there's definitely more opportunities with them in terms of like partnerships and things like that. I mean, sponsorships, and I know, you know, there's been a lot more in that sense, is, you know, people getting brand deals and things like that. So there's, maybe if we're not getting like as much money playing, they're still finding it outside by partnering with DeMarini and partnering with Wilson and Marucci. You know, there's a lot more opportunities for that. That's still not a lot, though, because you still have a good chunk of players who are good enough to play who probably just won't, just because there's not that many opportunities. I mean, there's only 64 slots and that's like 12 per position in our league. So that's not very many. There's definitely a lot more who are capable, but there's just not the amount of opportunities right now.
Right. It's unfortunate those girls kind of put it on the back burner for a while if there's nothing open, and then eventually life takes over, right? It's unfortunate. I want to give a quick shout out to someone in the comments. Frank Simon says, tell her to look out for my niece, Chiqui Vasquez, incoming freshman.
I'm familiar. I recruited her. So
there you go. Frank, we're trying to get Chiqui in the starting lineup, okay? That's why he's commenting right now.
Where is Miss Vasquez from?
From Chicago.
Oh.
Yeah, so Whitney Young.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm from Chicago, but I always get excited having local recruits and things like that. She is a stud.
I love
Local
that.
talent.
Yep.
Frank's trying to get into the starting lineup right now.
Good for Frank, huh? Good for
Good
Frank.
for him.
So Abby, I want to share something with you, and I hope this works because I was having issues earlier, as many of you know, with my computer. So I want to share something I think was pretty cool.
Happy retirement to my soul sister. Happy.
Congrats on her retirement.
I'm ready.
You guys hear that?
Yeah, we can hear.
It's been such an honor and a privilege to play with you.
You never cease to amaze me as a person, athlete, and friend. I am so excited for this next chapter of life, and I love you so much.
Thank you for being such an amazing friend these past few years. For a while, would not have been the same without you.
I'm so happy that I got to be your teammate for the last however many years. We've had so much fun and a lot of tears together. I'm so excited for what's in your future, and I love you so much.
It has been an honor to get to know you as a person and play with you on the field. I've loved every second of it. Welcome to the other side. Happy retirement.
Congratulations on your retirement after such a stellar softball career.
We're all really proud of all that you are, the woman that you have become, but the woman you are.
I will take a team full of Abby Ramirez, and we would win the national title year after year after year.
Good luck as you move on to the next, and you'll be great.
We will always be a Michigan Wolverine, and I will always be an Abby Ramirez fan.
Love you, baby.
Hey, Boo, congratulations on your retirement.
Hey, Abby, congratulations on your retirement. I'm going to miss watching all your games.
Congratulations. What a great ride you've had.
Just want to let you know how happy and proud of you and your entire family about your playing time.
Hey, congratulations on your last game. A, B, quiet. We love you.
We're so proud of you, love you, Boo, and can't wait to see what's next.
Congratulations on your retirement. I love you, Boo.
So that's the first video I wanted to share. I there's before I ask you your thoughts, there was Hutch in there. I know your assistant coach was in there, and I know your brother, who's today's his 30th birthday, was in there. But also your parents. So I know they were a big part of your success and family, and I know your family's incredible. So tell me about your thoughts, because I think what your coach said is absolutely incredible. If I had 10 Abby Ramirez's, I'd win the national title every single year. What are your thoughts about that? When you
I mean, that they totally surprised me with that video, which they also played up before the game, so I had to like
Fake it.
So,
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
that's
what
what
I
rude to
recorded.
play it
I
before
just-
the game.
Yeah, I
Wow.
recorded it on my phone as I was in the bleachers. That's how I had the video.
Yeah, that was really special for me. I mean, it was like everyone, you know, everyone who's had a really big impact on my softball career. Some of my favorite teammates were in there. So, I mean, to hear my coach say that was like super, like it hit me. Like I was very emotional after watching that video because, I mean, that's like people who have been there for me, but to hear them
Right.
all say nice things and just what I mean to them, I was kind of speechless after because, you know, it's everyone you love. So, I mean, my parents have been super, you know, supportive of me. My mom has like, you know, she's in the chat, but she's always been kind of my cheerleader, the one who, you know, whether I was 0 for 3 or 3 for 3, like didn't really care. It was just like she came to support me, and my dad was always the one who was kind of like, dream big, you could go bigger.
Nervous wreck. Yeah.
Yeah, nervous
Halfway down
wreck
the
for
outfield,
sure.
could never sit still. Oh, yeah,
Absolutely, because he was riding that with me, that's for sure. My whole family was.
Your
And
father's
Mimi and
incredible,
Andy, just all of them, like, you know, they've been with me every step of the way. So, you know, of course they were there for my last game, and but you know, it not just in that video, but I think, you know, they've made it very clear how much they support me kind of throughout my entire career. And again, it was whether I was doing amazing, not doing so great, no matter what. Like, I'm so lucky to have had, you know, the support system I've had from my family, my parents, especially my grandpa, my grandma, even though she wanted me to bet righty. And then just my coaches. Like, I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for the people I've kind of had in my corner this whole ride.
So Donnie, before I play the next video, because I have another one.
Oh no.
Would you like to add any comments?
That that's spectacular. And you had to like go out and play after that video. Usually you see those in the NBA when players come back to their hometown after playing for a long time, and like those guys get emotional too, and then they have to go out and play. Like that's the same exact situation. You had to like totally fake that you were okay on the field. You probably weren't.
No, I was like, okay, it's dusty out here.
Right.
I'll be honest, I had some tears in the stands for her. Just because I was a part of like freshman. I saw her at freshman year. I saw her senior year in high school, and I'm like, oh my God, she's really good. Ruben, like this, that, and another. And then we got invited to go watch her freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and like it felt like I was on the ride with her and her family, and like my wife was like, how come you always want to go watch Michigan softball?
You guys made some road trips too. I remember you came to Wisconsin, to Indiana. Like I remember you guys being there at those.
Oh yeah. We went on some road trips too, and it was always fun. And we probably were at Michigan a handful of times, so it was always incredible to watch. So I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed this a lot too. I thought the next video I'm going to share was actually really cool. It comes from the same night. And it is the last, I guess you want to say inning, your last moment. So I'm going to go ahead and share that. There we go. Can you guys see it?
It's a little blurry at the moment.
So I'm not a professional camera guy, but I thought I was pretty damn good. All right.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty good footage.
So my question to you is in that moment, because I think any professional athlete who's ever put in that moment when you get kind of almost a standing ovation walking off the field, that had to make you feel like not only incredible inside, but also they're kind of the moment of sadness, like holy cow, like my career is over, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had never imagined like retiring and it being like a big spectacle or anything. I actually didn't really tell a lot of people originally. I mean, word kind of got out because I wasn't really like announcing it, but I wasn't keeping it a secret either. So
yeah,
kind of behind the scenes, a lot of people, a lot of my teammates and, people at AU were putting stuff together that I didn't really know about. And then our team captain, Danielle Gibson, she is the one who kind of gave me the curtain call, I guess you could say. And, that was, I really appreciate her doing that because, like I said, I never expected any of that. So, but it was really special night. I think like the whole night was kind of a little bit of a blur because, there's just so much going on and everything. And so I think like it didn't necessarily hit me in that moment that it was it because I had kind of been gearing up for it. I knew it was coming. But I couldn't hold it together though, because again, none of that I expected. I was very emotional, more emotional than I normally get. So it definitely was a little sad. And thinking back, like I am really gonna miss, just mostly just like being with your teammates, like
Yeah.
the locker room and just like going to and from practice and all that stuff, and being in the dugout during the game, and like the competing part of it I'll always miss, but like really it's like your teammates that make the experience so much fun. So and just to get like that reaction from Rosemont, where I've been playing since I was in high school, like it just felt very like a nice way to close the chapter, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, hopefully your chapter's not closed, because hopefully now you become a head coach somewhere and I can come watch you coach.
Yes.
So, and then as my little Rugrats get older,
yeah,
hopefully we'll have some fun with them as well. So, Donnie, before I ask Abby my last question,
Yeah.
and obviously thank her for taking her time out of her busy schedule to join two very handsome, good-looking guys like themselves. Do you have any questions for her?
Yeah. The last thing we always ask the guests, I know I kind of prepped you on it yesterday, but it's your favorite, the jersey in your collection. We started bringing people's jerseys on. What do you got for us?
So I'm not wearing it because it's in a frame right now.
Okay.
I have it behind me.
Okay.
So if I can just move my chair.
This will be our first frame jersey on the show.
Yeah. So this is my college jersey, the one that I wore in the national championship. So you could see the patch there for the World Series. And
nice.
so it was in my closet for the longest time, but Ernest, my boyfriend, got it framed in the box and everything for a Christmas gift a couple years ago, which probably like my favorite gift ever, because I've been wanting to do this forever, just never really got around to it. But this jersey is really special because of that, but it was actually a throwback. Like that was our throwback jersey that year, because the 2005 Michigan team wore that jersey, and that's the jersey that they won their national championship in.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was just really cool. I feel like it was my favorite jersey in general, and then for us to also play in a national championship, and it was super cool. So
that's fantastic. That's
she's
definitely the front runner for the best jersey we've seen on our show.
That's by far the best one. And God bless Ernest with those brownie points. Look at him framing it up.
I mean, he did a good job.
You got to take care of that man. That's for sure. So Abby, you kind of answered it a little earlier, but I ask every guest that the last question of the night, if there was something in softball, and technically your sport would be 12-inch, college softball right now. If there was something that you could change or technically bring into the sport that's new to improve the game itself, and obviously it's a game that's growing tremendously right now, what would that be?
I think one thing that I do, which it's in international ball.
Yep.
And we started doing it in professional, is we did add a game clock, and it has brought a different element, and I hated it at first, but now going back to college where we have one, but it's not as long, or it's not as short. I just feel like things can drag sometimes. And
sure.
I think when you add the clock, it's not only like it speeds it up a little, which the game's a little fast in general for us. It's not baseball. Baseball definitely needs it. But I like it because it kind of it adds something a little different in your at bat that you kind of have to adjust a little quicker. So I do like that. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. I mean,
okay.
You asked me this on any other day when I'm at practice, I'm probably like complaining about so many things. And of course, nothing's coming to my head right now. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely always room for improvement in the game. But
well, Abby, you could use our show as a recruiting tool any time of the month, any time of the week. Just let us know. We'll bring you on. Not a problem at all. All right. So Donnie and I could be scouts. I mean, whatever you need.
Whatever you need.
So, appreciate that.
All right. So before we let you go, do you have any questions for us?
Well, I thought that you guys played on the same team, but it sounds like you don't. So who has the better record against each other?
Ooh, Jimmy, why don't you go ahead and answer this question for her, Jim?
Well, in the Dome League right now, we are 0-2 against them.
Okay.
But we are No, we're 0-1 actually. The other 3 games didn't really count.
Yeah, so 0-4. Yeah.
Not 0-4. Come on, really? We haven't played 4. Now you're lying.
We play you guys once a
We're
week.
playing the best of 7 series right now, and they're up 1-0 on us in the best of 7. So
Okay.
my team has struggled a little bit right now getting guys out. So hopefully tomorrow we change, and I think tomorrow we are going to play for a TikTok dance.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
We play for something in the in the dome, or every time we play each other. Last week I had to wear a sign on my forehead that just said signature, but I had to doctor it up and say signature loves Uncle Jimmy.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense when I saw that.
Yeah. So this week we are going to play for a TikTok dance. So since we've created our new TikTok page, Donnie was nice enough to do that. The loser is going to have to actually do a TikTok dance, which
isn't that unbelievable? Just think about Jimmy dancing to a Megan Thee Stallion song.
Oh yeah, I mean,
there's
so many options.
I can bust a move, Donnie.
I think it's great. People are gonna have to follow the TikTok to go and watch it. So I'm not ashamed to plug the TikTok at all as we do this.
Dude, I hope we win by slaughter roll tomorrow.
Yeah, all right.
I will be on the lookout for that for sure.
Oh man.
Yes. So, well, Abby, we appreciate you giving us time, obviously, for the interview. Hopefully, this wasn't too bad for yourself. Donnie and I really enjoyed it, and good luck this season with DePaul. And Donnie and I will definitely be following you. Maybe we'll do monthly updates on DePaul's record for you on the show.
That would be good.
So.
Yeah, hopefully that's good. So I'm excited.
If the record's good, we'll talk about it. If it's not, we'll just leave it out of the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go out there and kill him, Abby. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and Jimmy, thanks for the support all the years.
Hey, no problem at all. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, what'd you think of Abby before we bring our boys Francisco on?
Man, just like I said at the beginning, the best athlete we've had on the show for sure. The most talented human being we've had on the show for sure.
Yeah.
The one with the most accolades. So just a pleasure, and it brings a new kind of a new voice to the show, right? We talked to slow pitch 12-inch guys and, slow pitch girls and 16-inch and 14-inch, and obviously the 16-inch guys. Got a professional 12-inch player on now, which is fantastic, right? It's a whole new element and a whole new audience to the show, and what a better way to start than with, one of the best.
Well, when we started this, we said, yes, we want to grow the 16-inch softball game, but we also said we wanted to grow softball.
Yeah.
So you and I, we didn't want to stop with just 16-inch, right? I mean, we want to help 12. We want to help women's softball, even men's fast pitch. I think there's still leagues out there for that. So
there is.
That would be awesome, and continuing to grow and just try to bring more attention around softball in general. Only helps every sport per se out. So it's awesome. It's an awesome thing.
Yeah. How about the framed jersey? How about the framed Michigan College World Series?
Awesome.
That's going to be a tough one to beat.
I know.
That's solid.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So we, our next guest, who I see waiting in the lobby patiently.
Yeah, he's in there just watching.
He is a SSA board member. He is a B National leader or tournament director.
Yep.
I know he's your good friend.
Love him.
He is one of the guys that is kind of, I wouldn't say a good friend of mine, but I've kind of got to know him more over the last couple of years. So I'm going to bring him to the show, and that's our boy, Mr. Francisco. Where is he at, Francisco, my man? You hanging out with your car?
Yeah, yesterday I had my earphones on, but they were one of them went out. And so I'm like, you guys caught me at the gym yesterday. Same thing today. And so I'm like, you know what? I wasn't gonna make it home to recharge them. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to do the interview from the car.
Hey,
so
man.
Hopefully you guys can hear me.
No, we can hear you fine. I think you're good, right, Don? You can hear him?
Yeah, he sounds better than ever. Sounds really good.
So
really quick, Frank. I call you coach, as a lot of people do. Where does that come from? Just being out there with the guys, just kind of coaching, or where does that nickname kind of arise from?
You know what? The majority of the guys after the original guys that I had, the creators that I coached from Little Village, they're a lot younger than me. I'm like I'm old enough to be their dads, and so it was just kind of out of respect that they were like,
Okay.
hey, coach. So plus a lot of the volunteering I did with the New Life Centers, the league that they have there, it's a youth league, and so just basically out of respect.
Okay. I called you coach before I knew your real name, so I think that's.
And I am
probably a
old
lot
enough
of
to be your dad.
Yeah.
Probably both of us.
Probably.
Solid.
But Francisco, my man, you know I love having discussions about good old SSA and good old softball, but before I even get into any of that, I want to tell everyone and kind of thank you for what you've done with the B level. I know we don't get a whole lot of talk per se on the show about the B tournament and just some of the B teams, just because, well, one, I mean, we're not really that familiar with some of them because we don't get to see them as much. But two, it's those teams I feel that are continuing to improve, right? We want to, and I know you have some great stories and some things that you've said that, people who've played in the B tournament since you've started it are now playing A in major ball. So tell us about just your thought process on why you started it, and then just tell us about how you feel it's continuing to grow, over year over year, because I continue to see the growth, and I know that you've been turning teams away per se to play in the B National. So why don't you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So thank you guys for having me on. When I first there was a precursor to the first B Nationals, because of the different organizations that I worked with during my primary job as a probation officer. I got to work with a lot of nonprofits, and I knew that they had like some intramural um, tournaments, softball tournaments with staff and youth and whatnot.
Yep.
And so the year before I had the first B Nationals, I had a tournament at Genera Park with about 17 different non-for-profits. That was a combination of youth and or adults, and it went very well. And I got some people to sponsor it. We gave out free food, and we were able to bring people from different parts of the Chicagoland area together under the umbrella with the common denominator being softball. People that ordinarily wouldn't break bread with each other or might even kill each other if they found themselves in a different situation. But it wound up being a very good turnout for the first tournament. And then the thought process came, well, can we do this on a bigger scale the next year? And so I approached at the time Sal Malazzo and Tyler from the SSA board, and I kind of like pitched it to them. And kind of like we said earlier, they're not necessarily playing at some of the parks that I was playing at. They weren't familiar with the concept. And so I remember them telling me, like, if you can get 12 teams, 10 or 12 teams, like that, consider that a success, And I already knew just from the different parks that I played at that wasn't going to be a problem. I remember when I posted for the first B Nationals, I posted at 10 o'clock at night, and by 6 a.m, my inbox had blown up. I had like 29 teams, and I had to turn away teams because it just logistically, I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I added more teams than I should have. So the first one was held at Petrowski Park in Little Village, and we were able to use 4 fields. And I had a good amount of board members come out and help me and decorate the park and volunteer. I remember we gave away probably about 1,500 hot dogs and maybe about 1,000 hamburgers. I got donations from a couple of nonprofits. So the first tournament only cost $100 per team, and I think that first tournament I gave away maybe like 8 bids to our A Nationals, which at that time costed about $300. Plus we still paid out, and so from that first tournament, I think it was a real good word of mouth in terms of success. And since then, I haven't really looked back. I usually have the problem of keeping to add teams after I close out the event. I'll get a team saying, "Hey, listen, they'll come up with an excuse and say, "Hey, I didn't read about it or I didn't hear about it. Can I get in?" And I have a hard time turning people away because the concept has always been playing for peace. And so, I want to bring people together from different sectors of the Chicagoland area. I can tell you that if the first one that I had at Petrosky Park, I mean, to see 29 different teams from different walks of life, people that ordinarily might, like I said earlier, might have generational beefs with different neighborhoods, just coming together under the umbrella of softball, and seeing that brotherhood and seeing people break bread together, eat together, maybe talk to someone that they have never met before.
Yeah.
Really inspired me to continue doing this, and it's always been called playing for peace, and that's kind of like what I'm trying to build on.
Nice. So I do know that the tournament, the B National, is the only national softball tournament ever played in Chicago. So I know that was something that was cool to
That,
you.
absolutely, absolutely, and bringing it to a community that needed and continues to need that positive attention, and doesn't have to be in use for some tragic event. That on
Right.
that particular day. So on that particular day, you should know this too. And when you talk about attendance, New Life Centers in Chicago actually helped me secure the fields and buy the balls for that tournament. I had a lot of community support. They also held a 3-on-3 basketball tournament that day. So roughly there was on the Friday, the first day of the tournament, and that Friday it was roughly about 2,000 people in the park. And so it was I would say the atmosphere was electric, if I can describe it as such.
Yeah.
It was a big success.
Yep. So, Donnie, before I hand it over to you, I got one more question with Francisco. And, you talk about electric, you talk about atmosphere. A lot of the points that I know hit home to me as a player, uh, something that I feel we talked about at the SSA meeting about the Saturday night finish and kind of having more people around that championship game. I know that you tried a B National. I know weather, nature kind of got the best of us, but that being said, you still had an incredible crowd on a Saturday at 10 p.m. Because I remember receiving calls uh, from the field from people and saying that there's a ton of people out here, this, that, and another. You want to speak a little bit about that? Because I think that's something that,
Yeah.
a lot of the major guys or maybe even some of the A guys that are out there don't really know that the A tournament or that a tournament actually did finish on a Saturday night, and it was kind of a really good success, minus the Mother Nature part.
So you know what? On that particular day, you're gonna have a difference of opinion, right? I'm a big supporter of that. And just for clarification too, it's not the first B Nationals that ended on a Saturday. When the
Right.
Dirty 38s won it, they won it. And I think we finished maybe about 9 o'clock. There was no
Yep.
rain delay that day, and that wound up having the biggest crowd. What people do in between from when we start and when we end, that's something that I don't think anyone can control.
No.
I've heard comments about people being intoxicated and whatnot, but I challenge that. And if you can tell me one tournament where people ain't doing that, um it'll be news to me, because people are gonna use that free time to do whatever they need to do in terms of enjoying themselves, whether it's now that it's legal smoking or drinking or whatever. But
Mhm.
I felt that it was a very good crowd. I saw teams staying. Um, I think that it was very well attended. People will have a different opinion on it, but I think that it was one of the most attended tournaments of the year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's.
And
I
I
mean,
and
it's
I
nice.
and
Like that's. I was gonna say that's really nice to see. Like Jimmy, we talk about it all the time, trying to get that move to Sunday, but to have the physical or move to Saturday, but have the physical evidence that backs like this is a good time. This is where people want to be.
Yeah. And to your point, Francisco, I know we had John Doss, JD, who is one of the, call him tournament director, board members, however you want to say it, at the Forest Park tournament, which is obviously as all the softball players call the Mecca of 16 in softball. He brought up on our show that they were highly considering finishing the tournament on a Saturday night. Now, I don't know if he was busting my chops a little bit, but knowing JD, I don't think he was. And I think that that's something that he was serious about when he said that the Sunday crowd, they actually lost money on that, or just didn't perform the way it used to perform, and so on. So I mean, you want to say it's not about money and stuff like that, but it's a business, right? And honestly, if we're going to be able to draw more people in on a Saturday night and stay more people around the field to create those atmospheres and things, I think it's a win-win for everybody, and I think it's only going to continue to grow. So I don't want to. I know we talk about this topic all the time, but this fits what I wanted to bring it up because this is something that fits you. Your idea, your thought, you've done it, and this is something I feel it's been a success for you already. So I wanted the viewers to kind of hear that from you, right?
For sure.
You're a representative of the SSA. You are say what you want, but your perception of what that organization is. So I want to say thank you for that, because I think it's an awesome way to prove, or just not prove, but just to show that something like that would work, and it would help commitment. I mean, I would love to know how many of those players that played in that tournament, how the commitment level was for a lot of those teams, knowing that they were only there maybe 2 days.
It definitely, you get to see the teams at full strength. I know that in the past when we've had it and ended it on Sundays, it is a little bit disheartening when you're there for 4 days in a row, and personally it's taxing on myself having to. It feels like Groundhog Day, where you leave, you come back, you leave, you come back, and to have the championship, and I think we do a great job of live streaming. I think that people do have access to that, and people do love watching our live streams. But I think being there in person adds that, to the excitement of winning the championship. I know playing in front of a larger crowd does tend to, to bring out the best in people. And I think people want to see a championship in, a bunch of a large crowd. You've played in No Glove Nationals, you know what it's like to play in front of large crowds. And I think so, that gives the younger teams a taste of what could be potentially their outcome if they continue playing softball.
Yeah, no, we talk a lot about building the game, growing the game. I think that this is something that players, as a competitive player, you want to play in front of crowds. I mean, and if you don't, I personally, you don't have that competitive edge. So I think that can't help. It definitely can't hurt the game, right? I mean, reason I've said before, I go to Yuma to play in front of thousands of people is because of the atmosphere, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if they didn't have that atmosphere, I probably wouldn't take a 3-hour plane ride and a 2.5-hour car ride to go play a softball tournament. Okay. But that atmosphere as a competitor is what we, definitely eat up. So Donnie, over to you.
Yeah. Coach, we know you've been around a lot of guys and played with a lot of really good and cool people. And this is a pretty unique question to you, but you're on the coaching side a lot. You watch a lot of softball. You're always at the tournaments. Coach, who's your favorite softball player?
And take us out.
Past or present? Past or present? Present?
Take us out of it, okay? We're out of the question.
No, okay. In terms of watching someone compete, and it's almost like if you have, like nowadays, if you pay someone a compliment, everyone will say, he stinks. They throw away, people throw comments or compliments now like they're manhole covers, right? As they say about George Hallis. Guys that I would like playing, I'll give it right off the bat. Like, I like watching Jibs pitch. I think he's probably the most predominant pitcher in the past 20 years. He's got a phenomenal knuckleball. He's a very underrated hitter. But anytime that, he's pitching, watching the batters trying to adjust to the ball and what he does, and watching him sweat on the mound sometimes, he looks like Charles Barkley out there or Shaq out there. But like Jimmy, I've been out to Yuma with him, and my team goes every year. But definitely, watching him pitch has been one of the pleasures of watching Sicilian softball.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, go
The
ahead, Donnie.
second one I always ask, I asked Abby, it's going to be tough to top Abby's jersey because she had a framed Michigan World Series jersey, which is tough. Coach, I know you might be at the gym or outside the gym, but did you happen to bring a jersey that you really kind of
You know what?
Or...
I thought about that yesterday, and I don't have one, but I did think of the jersey.
Okay.
And so, in this context, it's probably been maybe about
Free
10
Donnie?
years. No. About 10 years ago, we played in a non-for-profit league called the Donna Dudley Peace League. And basically we played in the league up until the playoffs, and then the team that we were tied with first decided that they were going to bring major players that had never played on the team, and so we lost the first game, and then to that I kind of said, well, I'm going to try that formula as well too, and I invited Scotty Herdecki, Chris Johnson, who else played on it, Robbie Grisano. I mean, I invited a bunch of people to come out and play, and we wound up both having a 30-man roster for that championship game. That game easily had 1,000 people watching the game, and we wound up winning in extra innings. And the shirt that I wore it bore the name of the person who started the league. Her name was Donna Dudley, and she just passed away this past Sunday. So that someone sent me the picture of me with her after the game, and I still have that jersey, and I don't like to wear it because it reminds me of a good time with an amazing human being.
Getting hard copies.
Man, you got to send us a picture of that jersey, okay, Coach?
I'll send it to you for sure.
I would love to see that.
So, sorry guys, that's my father-in-law and my lovely wife walking in the room. So we've been bombarded here. But no, my next question for you is actually, we have a top 5 of rapid fire.
I have it over here.
Donnie's got number 1, but I'm going to say 2 through 5 per se.
I got a couple too on my end, Jim.
Yeah, so I am going to go ahead and start out with number 5, and that's the boy Steve-O Rodriguez.
Los Borrachos, he's the man. He's El Borracho.
All right, El Borracho. Okay, we'll go with that. First thought that comes to your head, we probably should have told you the rules, but that's okay. I think you watch our show, so you know. So, number 4, our boy Patty Caputo.
Wow. Father figure.
Okay.
For sure. I mean,
Sure.
I think Patty, when I first met Patty came to the First B Nationals, and, I kind of liken him to Bilbo Baggins. He's questioning me. He's surprised he didn't go through my pockets. And I've grown to just, learn so much from him. And I don't think a day goes by where we don't talk. We talked earlier, but we usually end our conversations with telling each other that either I love him or he loves me. And I've learned a lot from him as a human being outside of softball. For sure.
No, yeah. Patty's
That's
one
awesome.
of my faves for sure. So I have to keep it on the SSA board for me because I don't know too many of your close friends, and I know Donnie has a couple that he's going to share. But for number 3 for me would be Anthony Tyler.
He's the foundation. Anthony loves to argue. Anthony is what kind of keeps us centered. That might be news to you, yeah. But he, you know what? I would say if you could describe him in one word, it would be democratic, because he will, not that he loves to argue, but he loves to hear different viewpoints. And the one thing that I've respected about him is that when we have like heated discussions about different positions or whatnot. If we vote and it goes against his whatever position he had, then he's a strong supporter of what we voted for. So he really believes in the democratic process, and I value him. I thought you guys were going to ask me if there's one player that I could have played with, and I when we spoke yesterday, I thought about him. I've always wanted to play with him. I'm trying to get him to play on my 15 over team at some point this year.
No,
but I definitely do. I definitely do respect him for sure.
No, yeah, he was a great teammate. Always a good guy to be around. I think he kept the mood light. We had a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, in those early, like some of my early days, we had a lot of fun on that team. Him and Ralphie always had a thing. I always got a kick out of that. So a lot of fun being around. But I have to ask number 2 because we wished him a happy birthday the other day. Yesterday. Both cousin Donnie and Uncle Jimmy wished him a happy birthday. I don't know. He didn't respond to us, but that's okay. Nope. Our boy Gio.
I would say, you know what? Let's start off by saying this. I saw him play when I first started playing softball. People recognize Gio. Underrated. People talk about him for they know most people nowadays know him for the live stream, but I actually saw him hit a ball like almost out of my prospect. And I remember that's the first time I saw him, and I thought to myself, there's no way this guy's gonna hit out of the infield. And he got a hold of it, and I was like, holy fuck, this guy can play. So that's Gio, one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, most people don't know that he played, and he was actually very, very well. I mean, if he's watching or someone tells him, don't let it get to your head. But he was actually very good, I thought.
No, I was gonna say he wasn't bad. He played short center a little bit. I mean, he wore like 47 knee braces. We used to kid him about that all the time back in the day. But the one thing that I would tell you about Gio, he was on Team Jagoff for many of years with us. And he would always be at the park in a lawn chair, and I would always pick him up on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. because half our guys were still in the bar. That being said, he would play, and he'd have some tremendous games. He'd be sometimes one of our better hitters. And we used to play $5 an out. So that was one of the things that we always did. And to this day, we still have the Gio rule on Team Jagoff. And that rule is he was the only player in the history of Team Jagoff to make 3 outs in 1 inning. And how he did it, and I'm going to tell the story how he did it, because I know everyone thinks I'm a Gio hater and all this shit. But, we have our different opinions, and that's okay. I don't hate the man for who he is, but at the same time, I don't agree with a lot of the things he says. But either way, we had some good times back in the day, and we call it basically the Gio rule. And what it was he started the inning. I want to say he hit into a double play. That's what it was. Guy got a hit. He hit into a double play to start the inning. Okay. We batted all the way around, got back to him, and he made the last out of the inning. So for many of the softball players out there, Jeff Berger, who was a Hall of Famer, incredible. I want to say he was pitching for us at the time. It's never been done, right? So we had no idea. A double play is $10, strikeout's $10. You make an out, it's $5. You make the last out of the game, it's $20. You strike out, then the game, it's $40. Like we double it, right? So nobody knew what to charge him because it was 3 outs in 1 inning. So Berger's like, that's got to be $100. And I'm like, $100? So he's like, come on, Moretti, it's 3 outs in 1 inning. And it was, I mean, dude, when we got to we were 5 guys away from him. And I mean, it was, hey guys, we need 5 more hits to get back to Gio. And it was rope. And now Gio's in the box. And I think Gio, to this day, I think he shared that story on some of his live streams. Because he gets a kick out of it. And to his point, we honestly didn't let him pay that day because we would have forfeited without him. So we let him slide, but we made a rule, and now it is $50 if you make all 3 outs in 1 inning.
Oh shit.
Damn. So that is the Gio rule. So
that's something that he has.
I shared the Gio rule with you. Huh?
I've heard of a lot of stories from Gio. I don't recall hearing that one, but I am definitely going to remind him of it for sure.
You can ask him. I'm sure he'll tell you. But go ahead, Donnie.
I-
What's your next question, sir?
Yeah, Coach, what were you going to say?
No, I just say that a lot of people just don't know that he played.
Yeah.
So
I have a couple for the rapid fire.
yes, I was
you.
gonna say I am done with rapid
Yeah,
fire. So over to you.
those are solid. I know a couple of your closer friends in the game. I know you'll talk highly or poorly on the next couple of guys I talk about. The first one is Dave Winslow.
Dave Winslow. Surprised that he's wearing. We had a conversation about a year and a half ago where me, him, and Josh Sears were talking about how things changed when we first started playing and how teams wore uniforms and everyone would wear like either the pants or the shorts, and how kids nowadays are wearing leggings, and he just went on about how much he despises that. And then we went to go watch him, and we initially couldn't find him because we didn't realize he was wearing leggings. And after the game, I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "My legs hurt." He's like, "You should wear them." I'm like, "You will never see me wearing leggings." Like he's like, "Well, my legs, I'm getting old."
It's either leggings or the matching team shorts.
He wore both. So he's a great teammate though too.
Yeah, he is. How about Manny Sanchez?
Manny Sanchez. You know what? Manny Sanchez is one of the most kindest persons that you'll ever meet. He has a heart of gold. He will bend over backwards for you. Every now and then he'll grow a set of hair and will say no to everybody. But for the most part, Manny tries to accommodate everyone and everyone, which is why he runs a great league, specifically the fall league at Harrison Park, and that's why people kind of want to go there because Manny runs a great show there.
That's honestly probably the best fall league right now. Oaklawn's good. Harrison
For
Park
sure.
gets a lot of really good players. Man, Manny was on our show, and him and Jimmy got into it a little bit. So that must have been the day that he grew a pair of balls that night.
Well, it'll happen on it. You know what? And people also don't like Manny upped our game last Friday, and he's making some I don't know if he just had, and I'm his good friend. I think he has it out for me. Like every time I play him, like he's always making. I always tell him that I'm gonna delete him off Facebook and like he'll MF me, and then afterwards we'll be like, hey, you want to go eat? I'm like, no, man, I want to eat with you, man. But he's a good guy. For sure.
Manny's excellent.
So Manny, I'll share this because this happened at the SSA meeting, and I thought it was pretty funny. So we were talking about perception just as a whole about the SSA, and Manny throws it back at me. He goes, weren't you kicked out of 2 games last year? And I go, yes, for sticking up for my teammate. But outside of that, I thought it was pretty funny because Manny, he does pay attention. And whether it's in the Harrison League or anywhere, he knew he was right on his facts. I thought it was pretty funny. I didn't laugh at the time. I wanted to wring his neck, but at the same time, I thought it was pretty funny. So
I'll tell you what though, most people don't know that Manny is a phenomenal bowler, like almost pro level,
and
he's good. Yes, like he's very, very good. Like most people don't know like that about Gio that he played. Manny is a phenomenal bowler.
Really interesting.
Yeah, like very good.
So if I get in a bowling league, I got to ask him to play on my team, huh?
He'd be a ringer for sure. Him and his son have bowled, and it runs in that family. But Manny is, I'm sure he's bowled 300 like several times, for sure.
Good for him. And he runs the Harrison Park League, right?
Yes.
All right. So my goal next fall is to come out there and get thrown out of a game.
That won't be hard, Jim.
Yeah.
That's an awesome goal. What do you think, Donnie?
That is a pretty goal. I like that goal a lot. And Manny doesn't umpire a lot, so for him to throw you out is going to be tough.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna get a call. I know a lot of people that play out there, so I'll hop on a roster and
you play with us.
I'll go out there one night. And
actually, I play on his son's team, so if you came up for us and got thrown out on his son's team, that would be pretty impressive.
Even better.
The next one I had, Coach, was Mickey Balestri Jr.
Yes.
I would say, you know what? From what I've knowing him from when he played with his team, the Leprechauns, and knowing his dad, I would say he's a student of the game. Like when I've had conversations with him about, softball, I know that he has a lot of relationships with other people, but usually when I have a conversation with me, he'll pick out like some detail of the other team and he'll say, Coach X, Y, and Z, and he pitched for me at this year's Turkey Bowl,
Yeah.
and we had like 18 people, and right off the bat, I said, Mick, I said, he's like, Coach, what do you want to do? And I said, Mick, you're on the mound. And he's like, okay. And then they scored like 9 runs off him. And I
We
go, hey,
scored
Mick.
like 12 runs in the first inning.
Yeah. So then I'm like, hey, we're going to have to make a switch here. He goes, yeah, because I was waiting for you to come out. And he went to catch, and we almost came back. I think we lost like by 2-3 runs.
Yeah.
But he's definitely a student of the game.
Yep. We
Very
played
underrated
against
too
you
as a
guys.
pitcher. Very underrated
Yeah.
as a pitcher as well too.
I would definitely say that, and he's also a member of Team Jagoff, so he is
He fits
one of
the
the
mold.
guys that,
He fits the mold.
I'll be honest with you though, the name doesn't really support the good guys on that team,
Sure.
And what I mean by that is, yeah, we could all be Jagoffs, but who can't? But at the same time, like a lot of those guys on that team are good people, they really are. And what I mean by good people doesn't mean that you got to make a ton of money or you got to be this guy or that guy. No, but they're generally good people, and that's what I like. I think I truly look forward to having even him around, even though he could be an asshole like you've ever met in your life. But Mickey and I have always got along. Him and I, and honestly, he's not afraid to, if he disagrees with your opinion, he tells you. And I like people like that.
For sure.
So, I like, and that there's a reason why Anthony Taylor and I have been, I would say, pretty good friends for many of years since we played together, because he's a guy that'll tell you his opinion. He's not afraid to tell you. And there's a lot of people in life that are afraid to open their mouth. And I appreciate that out of Mickey a ton. So hopefully, Donnie, I, and Mickey get together here soon. We got some ideas that we want to toss out there. And I know Mickey is, he's a big supporter of 16 in softball, So
he's got a great sense of humor, for sure.
Yeah, he sure does. And he'll make fun of you till you die. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
He will.
For sure.
Here's a really cool comment, Coach. It says, this is from Brian Sloan. Coach introduced me to the game. My first big tourney, major nationals in Iowa with the Creators. People forget Brian Sloan played with the Creators when you guys had a really nice roster.
You know what? We picked, so he's a guy that started off in Pat Caputo said, hey, there's this team out. I think he might have played on Itasca. They're called Sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And they played in the first B Nationals. And I actually brought him out to the Melrose tournament, and we wound up drawing signature the first game, and they had like their entire squad, and I think that they might have scored like 15 runs the first inning, and I think they might have hit a lot of balls to him. And I remember Winslow telling me like, hey, this guy's not gonna make it in A ball. I go, we don't have anybody to play right field, so he played right field, and we did our best. And afterwards, I told Winslow, I go, hey, we got offered a bid to go out play in Iowa, and he's like, well, yeah, let's go out there. And I said, and Sloan's coming with us. He's like, the guy who dropped the balls. I'm like, exactly that guy. He's bringing a couple of guys from his team.
That's Dave Winslow, right?
Yeah,
there.
Definitely. Brian has got a good team this year, and they won the Forest Park A-League last year, and he's made some great moves, and he's one of the teams that I'm proud of that started off at the B level and is now competing, with some good teams.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the B level, because we kind of got off it a little bit, and I wanted to talk about it at the beginning of the show. The one thing that I wanted to ask you, who are the top runners? I know Wolfpack, I think, won it last year, right? Or who won the B National?
Wolfpack. It was Wolfpack.
Right? Look at that, Donnie. I knew that. You didn't even know that, did you?
I watched the whole stream. It was like midnight.
Yeah. So Wolfpack obviously now that they won the B National, they can't play B National again, correct?
Correct.
So who are going to be the teams do you feel this year, top 5 teams that we need to take a look at for the B National crown?
I know that, with my conversations with El Baracho himself, you know, I think that they came to the realization that maybe the B level is something that's in the rearview mirror, and they want to compete as a legit A team. Um, I think that there's a few teams, bullies out of Cicero. Donnie, you're familiar with the bullies.
I know
I
the
think they
Bullies.
play
I
in
play
every
them like
league.
twice a week at Genera Park.
I think they play in every league at Genera Park, right? Trash Panda is another one.
Yep, they picked up Marco
APB had a very,
Macias too, right, Coach?
yes. Um, Born Divine out of Washington Park is also a good team.
Yep.
Um, there's actually a few teams out west that haven't played any type of organized softball that contacted me, that I think are if they commit to it and they come out, are going to be pretty good, just because of the fact that there's talent everywhere. It's just that not everyone has the commitment to play. We talked about this earlier about player commitment. Not everyone has the passion or the drive to play every weekend or whatnot. There's good teams out of Oak Lawn. Oak Lawn has, like, I don't know how many leagues they have, but
A lot.
I've been approached by teams there saying, hey, can we play just in your tournament and maybe not play at A Nationals? And I'm like, well, if you win, you get a free paid bid. That's the goal, to get guys to play, move up. And there's some teams that don't want to do that. They're like, we would just want to play in your tournament and that's it. But
Right.
definitely those 3 teams. There's a team called Hit Squad that also plays in intentional sports. That's pretty decent.
What about heavy hitters?
Heavy hitters, it depends who they have. I know that there was a team that last year, and this kind of speaks to the test. This team won their first game after maybe like 7 years trying. They went by Yak Bombers before in the past, and they actually won like 3 games last year. I know that I can't. Their name is slipping, but I know they had changed the name. That Mr. Watkins, who runs the team, who's also a great human being, was excited about it. And he's like, "Hey, Francisco," he's like, "I want to come back next year." He's like, "Now that we won 3 games," he's like, I got a taste of it." And so definitely there's that excitement building up for this year.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. We got approached by someone that watches every week, someone that kind of, helps us with the page, and was like, man, you guys talk about the major level a lot, and, there's more guys out there. We want you to talk about more, more guys that play softball, and who better to talk to about the B and, that A level than you. So, we appreciate you very much for kind of spreading some knowledge on that topic. And Jimmy, if you want to roll right into your famous question, I've got nothing else for Coach.
Yeah, I've got like one more thing before we get to my question. To Donnie's point, when the gentleman emailed us about, we need to get more we already had you obviously scheduled, because I talked to you. Matter of fact, that we wanted you to come on last week, and then we had to push it. So, that being said, I just wanted to thank you for that, because I think it's awesome to get out there, right, to see some of those lower level teams. And we've been talking to a lot of like the 12-inch world, trying to get some more 12-inch teams to really play our game. And not to say that they're going to start out at the B level, but some of them might, right, just to get familiar with the game and so on. So obviously I don't think any teams from Kansas City are going to come down and play the B National, but who knows where that's going to go in years to come as we continue to do this and continue to drive and promote and advertise our game, right? Now, I do know that you talked about a couple things prior about improving softball and things like that. So my question that I always ask every guest is really, how do we improve softball as a complete whole, right? What do we do? What do we do to enhance the game? What do we do to improve the game? So I'm going to ask you, and you can, take it however you want to take it, but what would be something right now that you would change about softball as a whole, and something that you would either bring into the game new that would help improve softball? So I'm going to hand it over to you from there. I mean, I think you've heard the question numerous times, right? So, let me know what you think.
So, obviously everyone's, based on the conversation we've had, everyone's talking about, like wrapping things up on a Saturday, right? For
Right.
those tournaments. And, and as, as great as idea as it sounds, there's a lot of logistics that have to basically align themselves so that, specifically in parks like Melrose that only has 2 fields, it's very difficult to get that, and you just have to calibrate it so that, one, you might have to limit the number of teams that, you can allow into the tournament, and there'll be a discussion of who's left out and who do you bring in. um and as you know, I've been a big fan of that. But on another end, something that I think, people talk about it, and you mentioned Marco Macias. I'll mention a gentleman that plays on your team, Jimmy, Kurt, Robbie Grisano. I had Timmy Kornikowski last year. I had Dave Winslow. Um, I've tried to get a lot of major players to come out and ump for me at the B National, so they can get a taste of what it's like to ump. And I think that, building up our umpires through former players can take us, I think, in a direction where, games can be better controlled in terms of like player conduct and whatnot. Um, I'm not sure Robbie plays for you on Team Jagger or not, but Robbie's been one of like my, you know, workhorses for B Nationals. And I think that, for whatever any opinion anybody might have of Robbie, I think he's a great umpire. He
Yeah,
takes control of the game.
he
He
is.
makes, and he might make a bad call. But afterwards he'll own up to it and he'll be like, man, I had a bad angle on that. And he takes constructive criticism because I've allowed him to work games at Clyde and some other games that I've got him into. And he's asked for feedback. Hey, coach, what I do wrong? I'm like, Robbie, you blew that call, but I understand how you made that call because you didn't have the angle. And so you might want to run out more and whatnot.
Yep.
And you know what? At the end of the day, umpires are human beings and they're going to make mistakes. But I've been genuinely pleased with the direction of the umpires, and I hope that the people that I mentioned can continue to, on that track to become umpires, because that's always a question about quality umpires. And I think that building them up from the player ranks, I think
Yeah.
is a good idea.
I will tell you, I am thoroughly impressed with how those guys umpire already without having the experience like you bring up, Robbie and Kurt. I know I watched Kurt umpire a little bit, even at A Nationals last year. Those guys do a really good job, and they relate to the players. And sometimes they might relate to the players a little bit too much because we see them all the time and we play against them. But they do a really nice job of kind of setting the relationships aside. And I'm sure that that's really hard to do as an umpire. I mean, you're friends with these guys too outside of softball. And I think, one thing that they should continue to do is just separate the friendships from being an umpire, because they're going to argue. People argue all the time. And if you let it ruin
For
the
sure.
relationship, that's tough.
Maybe we should bring on umpire Blue. Blue Lou.
You want to see someone do a backflip, coach?
Fly him in from Minnesota for a weekend.
You know what? Some of the I asked Carlos Castleberry is my UIC for everything that I do, and he and I always have a great conversation about how the umpires did. And I know last year he said that Timmy K did a phenomenal job. I've had Tony Ward, I think, is a very underrated umpire as well too.
He's good. He's good.
Tony Ward, the year that the 30-38s won it. And the year that Crush won it, I said, hey Tony, I only got like 3 games for you. He got 3 of the toughest games both years in a row, where it was lit, and he made some great calls, and he left sweating. He's like, yeah, you know what, I'm good, man. He's like, I'll call you next year. I'm not sure. Like, he was exhausted about having done that, but afterwards he's like, man, he's like, how'd I do? I said, you did great, man, considering that the park could have blown up with a bad call or whatnot. I said, you did an amazing job. And so you don't hear that enough, right? All you hear is the blue stink and whatnot. And people are often prone to having a bad day, but I like to think that the umpires that we're using are getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, since we're on the topic about umpires,
Oh shit!
I heard a little birdie flew, landed on my shoulder, and told me that umpires are making, or what they're making per game. Now I know games are about an hour and a half long on the average, hour and 15. My thought is that if they're going to be making 45, $50 a game for an hour and 15 minutes, is there any way they can learn the rules about 16-inch softball, right? And then I think a lot of that problems that they have and arguments, and I know major softball, it's always going to happen, right? Because, and it happens at the A level. I've seen it. And I'm sure it happens at the B level. I've seen it. You've got competitive individuals on the field. You have people taking times away from families. You have people taking time away from kids to go and play a game we love, and then for an umpire not to know the rules. So that's my one ask of Brian Panic, is to have him train his umpires and learn the rules of the game. Okay? That's all I ask. I don't care if they blow every single call on the field. Yeah, I would, but at the same time, I wouldn't. As long as, like, to your point, they're putting themselves in the right positions, they're hustling, they're showing that they actually care about the game. And not only that, but also if someone blows a call and they blow a call because they were hustling, they were in the right spot, I don't think any single player would argue that. I think what happens is that they don't hustle, they stand behind home plate, they don't show or have the idea of what the rules are. As far as I've played softball, the rules have always been the same to me in the last 20 years. I mean, you might have had to justify one, two, or thing depending on the field. That's what I think really blows a fire in my ass when I see that. Where, the 6-12 thing, I get it. Some people call low pitch, some people call high pitch. It is what it is. You adapt, you learn. Am I going to bitch about it? You better believe it. But at the same time, that's what drives me nuts, right? And I think if we can get to, I would love to have Brian Panic on our show, because Francisco, maybe you can help me make that happen. But I know Brian too. I could probably reach out to him. But at the same time, what is your opinion on that? Because you're a board member. I know you speak from the heart, and I know that what you say, has impact a little bit in regards to how you feel. So tell me your thoughts on that, because that's my thought process on it. I mean, if you disagree, I'm okay with it, but tell me what your thought
Oh,
is on that.
I mean, being very transparent, I brought up Carlos Castleberry. I remember him making a call against my team at a no glove, and it was subject to interpretation. And after the game, he's like, "Hey, are we gonna go eat?" And I'm thinking to myself, "I'm gonna kill you, man." Like, I don't want to go eat with you. And then I'm like, "Yeah, all right, let's go eat." He goes, "Oh, my car needs a jump too." I'm like, "Let's just take my car, Carlos." But we had a longer discussion about the interpretation of the rule, and it was discretion, right? So he had a different interpretation. I had one. I wasn't going to convince him of it, but we
Right.
had a
But
discussion
you were
that
right, though, right, Coach?
no, you know what? I listened to him. The play was already over. I just want to kind of like plant that seed that maybe next time he can think about making a different decision on the play. But like I didn't yell at him. I didn't disrespect him. I know I gave him a
Right.
dirty look as I'm walking the field. He's like, "What are you looking at?" I'm just like, afterwards, I thought process, I was laughing, and everyone was like, "What's going on with Carlos?" I'm like, "Apparently he said X, Y, and Z, right?" But I did it in a respectful way. I think sometimes too, like you said, this is recreational softball, and you do have some players, which is why we really enforce the code of conduct. There's that it's how do you address that, and you're posing a question that is going to have to involve a lot of entities, like you said, Brian Panic. I know I use his umpires for our Melrose A League on Mondays, and you're right. There's some umpires that last year came out, and it might have been their first game, and they're asking, "Hey, how did I do?" And I'm like, "Well, you should know this rule, right?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know." So,
Right.
I said, "Hey, these are the rules that we use at Clyde, and they're more or less the same. And if you want to brush up on these, because you don't want to be called out for not knowing a rule, right? It's
Right.
rather embarrassing as an umpire. And then also not being afraid to enforce a rule. I think a lot of times umpires, because of what you said, maybe relationships with players, certain players are going to get certain calls. There has to be uniformity across every level of softball, and to enforce things so that when the B players move up to the A, they can expect the same thing. It would
Yeah.
it would go a long way in resolving a lot of these issues. And training could also be something that I know that we as an organization are planning at least a 2-day session this year before we start our leagues.
Yep. So before we let you go and before we ask you if you have any questions for us, I just want to say hello to some people who just recently joined the chat. We have Tommy Corlett, we have Brandon Alvarado who says my guy coach, Adam Olson, Steve obviously Rodriguez is still out there. Hey, we're talking about umpires. Randy Nelson. Randy's has been a pretty good umpire. I've heard good feedback on him, so have had him in some games. He's actually pretty good. Brian Sloan's out there, so we've had some bunch of people jump on and off. Scott Ardecki was out there. Some other guys.
You know what, I use Randy a lot, and Randy, for whatever you may have an opinion of him, I have a great relationship with him. He takes good feedback. He allows me to tell him, "Hey, Randy, today you stunk, and let's talk about it." And also, I've told him on certain days, I thought you did a great job. Even though my team might have lost, I'm like, you know what? Your umpiring really stood out. And so, he's the only one that's holding himself back from getting different jobs or more jobs.
So I just wanted to say other guys like Jimmy DeFalco has joined the chat. Mike James has joined the chat. Ryan Whelan's joined the chat. So thank you guys for joining the show. Obviously, our show is sponsored by the Beacon Tap, who is in Des Plaines. They have an outside beer garden in the summer, outside volleyball as well. They have tremendous food, so get out there, guys. Try their menu. We definitely appreciate their support. And really quick, Francisco, before we, let you go, do you have any questions for Donnie and I in regards to just both of us being so good looking?
I just want to tell you guys that variety is the spice of life, and there's a saying that we say in Spanish that the sun comes out for everybody. And so what you guys are doing is absorbing that sun that comes out, and there's room for everybody for growth for the game that we all love. It's something that that's our coping skill for whatever life throws at us, and being out there, playing with your teammates, or even if you're subbing for somebody, that it allows you for an hour to get away from life's troubles, and to continue to grow this sport that we love, and it's what we use. So thank you for doing it, and continue. I wish you guys nothing but continued success, and hopefully we can grow in alignment. I'm a proud member of the SSA. I'm a proud member of the organization and what we've been able to accomplish. And I did kind of I should have said that before I started, but thank you for having me.
Hey man, we appreciate your time. I know Donnie does as well. So we can't thank you enough for coming on. And I know that moving forward, I'm sure we'll have you again as a guest. So thank you so much as the B Nationals approaches. So,
Coach, thank you, man. I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you very soon. Okay.
Be safe, guys. Take care.
So thank you so much. So, what do you think?
Dude, Coach got a little motivational there at the end, huh?
Yes, he did.
He was getting a little inspirational, talking about the sun coming up, and that gets me juiced. That gets me juiced on this 11 o'clock hour.
Well, we always said, I mean, not that we look at time or anything like that. We go with the flow of the show, and I think The best thing about not being on like a TV ratings is we could go as long as we want. But
As long as
I
we
know
want.
one of our goals is to keep it under 2 hours, and,
Nope.
and we're coming up on that mark. But before we go,
Yep.
we want to talk about tomorrow night. We want to talk a little bit about, I think we wanted to discuss just kind of some thoughts and opinions from you and I about softball. And then we want to wish everyone a very happy weekend. So
Yeah.
go ahead. You mentioned something earlier, and I know we kind of shared it with Abby a little bit about our bet. So why don't we talk a little bit about our game tomorrow night?
Yeah.
It's game 2 of the series. So for many of you that know, obviously we're playing a series for money, both Hex versus Signature. So I'm pumped about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be probably our closest full team that what we have had. Not making excuses, but I'm just pumped to play with our guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pumped to, have a quality team and give you guys a run for your money tomorrow. So tell me what we're going to do tomorrow.
Yes. Really quickly before we get into that, Jim, I want to make a quick little thing. I got to mention one of the Signature guys, Greg Fleming. His mother passed away last week, so I want to give a quick shout and give my condolences to Greg G5. That's our guy. So he was posting about it in the group. He's been with his mom for a while, and I believe cancer related. But G5 is a really good guy, and we love Greg. So I just want to give a quick shout to him and that family, and as we kind of talk about,
give us our condolences for sure. So
as we talk about Signature and stuff, and he's part of the team. He's part of the the group over there. So want to give a quick shout to Greg, and he probably won't be there tomorrow, but he'll be there with us, all year long. And as we move forward to tomorrow, we've got a pretty full squad. I'm looking forward to. I know last time we played the game 1. If you're new to the show, new to the stream, every time Jimmy and I play, the loser has to do some sort of punishment. Okay, last week Jimmy had a big old Signature sign across his head. I screenshotted it. It's saved on my phone for future use. And then this week, tomorrow, after whoever wins after 7 innings, the other person will post a dance on our new TikTok account. So
So why don't we share what our new TikTok account is, because I don't think many people know that we even have TikTok.
Right.
I know that Mr. Dave Butterfield was nice enough to put all of our links.
Perfect.
Facebook for everyone to follow us. So we're also on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and now we're on TikTok. So we haven't posted anything though, but we're
so here's the
on
thing
it.
About TikTok. You need to have a certain number of followers before you can go live on there. Or
10,000, is that
you
right?
need to get 1,000. You need to get 1,000 followers. So,
we need followers so we can go live.
Really, please follow us. Or we need to contact somebody with TikTok support, which is tough. But please head over to TikTok and kind of follow us if you want to see Jimmy do a dance on there.
Whoa!
I think that would be.
You're just assuming I'm gonna be doing
great.
That. Huh?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. That's great, isn't it?
The confidence is just pouring out of you.
The kid's feeling good. The kid's feeling good.
That's awesome, dude. Hopefully you're not pitching then.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, hopefully we get to rotate again like we did the last couple games. But yeah, I'm excited to also see your team, because I know you guys haven't been at full strength. Whether or not you are there fully or not, still a good team to play, and it's still fun to get out there and be with the guys. And Danny Graff said whoever has to dance should have to wear a tutu. I don't think either of us have fit in a tutu, unfortunately.
That's not happening. So the news that I wanted to share is I actually talked to Nick Paul today with Faux Show. Unfortunately, Faux Show will not be able to make the 2024 Nationals. But they did say they will make the 2025 Nationals.
Okay, that's good.
And he is committing them to the major national for next year. So
that's awesome.
So I mean, it's kind of a loss for this year, but it's a gain for next year, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just one more team added to the realm. And then I know you and we have to follow up with our boy Brett to find out about Rosmondo. Want to make sure those are planned ahead of time. And I'd love to have them out. I think that'd be awesome, as we always say. So that's cool. And then
Yep.
I also wanted just to share that 12-inch had their, as they call it, their state USSSA Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Ohio won.
Yep. I
Correct.
think
So
Illinois took third.
Illinois did take third. So that was awesome to see. And I know, and I wanted to ask Francisco, and I forgot, when is the SSA schedule going to come out for 16?
Oh, yeah, we got to see that. I know. I will.
I know all the dates ahead of time,
Yeah.
but still, I like to see some of those random tournaments that they throw on there. You know, the Terry Moran's, you know, the guy that runs Dana Strong and the family's awesome. You know, those type of tournaments. But no, it'd be awesome to see. I do know Papa Hops is July 12th this year, which is a Friday.
Cool.
So I think that's usually a little later than normal, just because of the way that the days fall. I know it's always the second Friday, I believe, in July.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it just fell later this year. Usually it's like the 8th or 9th, but now the way the calendar works, it fell later. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Yeah, so that's kind of some of the news I wanted to share. Any news that you've heard of in the 16-inch softball world that you'd like to break, share?
Nothing on our end right now. Cool comment from Enrique. We call him Q. Nobody calls him Enrique. Look good, feel good, play good, of course. But that's a motto that everybody should live by.
Well, Enrique, look at us.
Enrique.
So yeah.
I don't have
that
anything.
Being said, you know, I do, and I'm going to end on this. I do want to get the Park League World Series. I want to make that happen this year. It's something that you, I, and Mickey are going to sit down. Hopefully we can get other pieces, other players, other associations a part of softball to help us. You know, it's something that I think if all of us join together to make that happen, it would be awesome. You know, obviously we'd have to put some rules on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you know, you can't have more than 2 major players if it's in a park team, stuff like that. But, you know, I would love to see that happen. 8 from the north, 8 from the south, and let's battle it out for the Park League World Series.
Yep, I think it's an awesome idea, and it's going to take some development with Mick and getting some teams involved. But what a cool thing to do, and just kind of spread some awareness. You're going to see some players out there that will get picked up by major teams after that tournament's over, just because no exposure from some of those guys, and you know, coaches and you know, people that run major teams are going to say, who the hell is this guy? Right. And then sooner or later he'll be with a Hex jersey.
Right. Yeah. You know? I mean, very, very could definitely will be. So, but you know, that being said, I just want to thank our sponsor one more time, the Beacon Tap, obviously in Des Plaines. You know, check their menu out. Great food. I've been there multiple times. I know they're a huge supporter of softball, Tommy Reamer and the crew. So thank you again. Donnie, anything else you want to ask your uncle?
No, that's it, my man. I appreciate it as always.
All right, my man. Well, you enjoy your week. I will see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.
So
yes, sir.
Enjoy.
Thank you guys for watching as always. And feel free to head over to TikTok and then follow us on social medias at Uncle J.